Coming up on the I'm a Car Chick podcast with guests Owen Moon and Joe Dallas.
We're really focused this week on education. I think there's just a lot of misconceptions. The term OTT has been used forever. It doesn't actually translate to streaming in a lot of cases.
Right.
Like cheap traffic, hitting a bunch of websites with little, pre-roll type ads, maybe some display ads, things like that. Be open to change. It's not always what we did yesterday. There's some dealers that just like to kind of wait until everybody else is doing it, and then once it becomes mainstream, they do it. They're going to see the value in what we're doing with streaming a lot quicker. If you look at the journey, at least my journey in it, in automotive, it's come full circle. We only had television, radio, and basically newspaper, maybe a little direct mail. Digital sort of exploded, inventory feeds everywhere, all the stuff, which is, his world. Now we're kind of back.
Revving up the auto industry, one conversation at a time. Featuring industry leaders, auto experts, and trailblazers. We are bringing you unfiltered interviews highlighting the voices all around the industry. Let's cut through the noise. Join us. Let's light it up together. Hosted by Shasta Haddock. This is I'm a Car Chick podcast.
Thank you.
Had to bring in some reinforcements.
Yeah, I mean, what, you just talk too much, or what do you worry about?
We were so busy yesterday. This voice, well, if it holds on for day 2, it'll be a miracle. But we're in therapy. We're good,
I'm normally a tenor, and this is what's happening to my voice.
It's those screaming at the parties. The music's so loud that you just have to scream from this distance for people to hear you.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's like you go and talk all day, and then you go to these after parties, these happy hours, and the music's loud, and you can't hear anybody. And
it's funny. Like, I saw a lot of people who didn't come, obviously, talking smack about, oh, you dealers and everybody just going to parties and everything. You're just going to Vegas to party. And it's like, it's not that. That's where the best networking happens. Like, those are where the deep connections happen, and the true conversations and the relationships. Those are the things you remember, because when you're in here, everything looks the same.
Yeah.
Like, you can't remember, oh my God, I saw this person. I don't remember what booth I saw them at. And so there's a real system to being able to do this and do it well. So
as far as the obviously we're exhibitors, so we're stuck in our 20 by 20 booth all day, so it's not really that big of a deal. We just got to get people there. I can't even imagine as a dealer like planning 2.5 days of this, and now that they have a West Hall and a North Hall, probably makes it a little easier. Spend a day in the North Hall.
Except how far apart they are.
Yeah, well, you spend a day up there, you spend a day over here, and you maximize your time.
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
Yeah,
because otherwise you're wasting time walking back and forth between the two.
Hey, if you want to get some steps, it's a good way to do it. I guess.
Seriously, though. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about you.
About me, so Joe Dallas, founder guy at Trade Pending. It's kind of my most recent big company that we started and grew pretty big.
You founded? Hold on, pause. You were one of the founders of Trade Pending?
Bryce Englert and I were the founders of Trade
That's
Pending.
That's what's up. That's one of my favorite companies on earth, so
right
kudos.
On. Yeah, thank you. And then along the way, Owen and I have been running in the same circles for a long time. We had an opportunity at Trade Pending to acquire Fixed Ops Digital.
Yep.
And then Owen and I and Kevin Colma always said, like, hey, we should do something new together. And here we are just a few years later.
That partnership makes sense.
Yeah. We're having fun.
How long have you been working together now?
Jan 1.
What time is it?
9 o'clock.
Pretty much.
Yeah, recently. Yeah, it's January 1st.
Okay. Yep. Awesome. Well, it sounds like a good partnership. I know that Owen, I kind of plan on just talking to you, but I'm gonna find a way to make these questions work for both of you. I can just
sit here too.
No, you're good. You're good. I want to talk to you too. Now that you're good.
We just curveballs.
These questions were just designed for one person.
I've got questions for you too, Shasta.
Okay, good. Good. Nobody ever asks me anything.
Yes.
So
how are you doing, by the way? You doing good?
I'm doing surprisingly well. I did 14 yesterday. I've got 17 slated for today, and we're hanging steady. And that's at
you're
my
taking
normal
care of your voice.
I'm trying. At a normal pace of one episode per week, I'm doing 6 months worth of work in 2 days.
Right.
So
intense for sure.
Owen, you've been in the automotive marketing and part of the industry for over 2 decades. What's changed the most in how dealers should think about reaching customers, and what hasn't changed at all?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question.
It is.
Well, if you look at the journey, at least my journey in it, in automotive, it's come full circle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it started as traditional. Like when I got in the business, we only had television. We only had television, radio, and basically newspaper, maybe a little direct mail.
Yeah.
Right. Then digital sort of exploded, inventory feeds everywhere, all the stuff, which is his world, and now we're kind of back, like with DealerStream. I feel like I've kind of went back in time in some ways, and how we brand dealers, how we get the message out there, other than price and payment, that type of thing. So for me, I think dealerships have to think differently as we move forward. Everyone's online now. Yeah. Everyone has inventory. Everyone has their digital strategies, and we're all fighting for that small little in-market guy that's ready to buy right now. There's no consideration phase anymore that we used to have when I first got in the business, when we were running broadcast television, big radio buys, things like that. The nice thing about what we're doing with our streaming advertising platform is we can take that emotional side of video and audio, but then take the targeting that we have available to us that's more like paid search and Facebook and some of the digital strategies. And so I think just, kind of going back to the question was, what should we do as we move forward? I think we have to talk about more than just inventory. Yeah. We got to kind of present those why buy messages, what sets us apart, the dealer apart from their competitors, that type of thing. So,
Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We're really, I would say, dealer advocates and dealer brand builders. And you walk around this hall and you kind of have...
This special NADA 2026 episode is sponsored by Authenticom. Authenticom. Connect once, we handle the rest.
You have the B2C element that's kind of crossover sometimes, where it's, they're B2B business, but they really are trying to build their own brand. And really what we're trying to do is, one, promote, to Owen's point, what the why buy message, why come to your local Honda or Toyota dealer, but make sure that those get in front of actual eyeballs at times that matter, so that brand message gets through. So you're filling that top and mid funnel message, so that you get more foot traffic, more organic traffic to your website, that you get that reinforcement in your markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like you had something to add to that.
Well, and to his point, just to kind of finish it, as they get to the point where now they're ready to buy, now they know about you. Now they know how to get to your website. They probably looked at your inventory. They've taken advantage of some of the great tools like Trade Pending has, things like that. They're not going to just show if they're just on accident, right? So you have to get a way to talk to them about, hey, when you're ready to for that next car purchase, we want to be top of mind. Right. And that's something that I think has gotten lost throughout this entire journey in my 25 years. Once we started getting really deep into inventory, syndication, and all that stuff, it's sort of just everything else sort of went out the window. So,
well, and honestly, on the consumer side, there's so many different ways we can get ads nowadays. Apart from the usual social media ads, I occasionally have games that I play on my phone, and they'll pop up little banners down at the bottom and stuff like that, and it's just getting more and more intense. Not to mention the streaming ads and all of that stuff. So, but speaking of streaming CTV and audio are hot right now. Where do you see dealers misunderstanding how these channels actually work?
Well, I think one of the things that we're really focused this week on education. I'm not necessarily bringing dealers in and giving them a full-blown demo of us and what we're doing. I think there's just a lot of misconceptions. The term OTT has been used forever, and unfortunately, it doesn't actually translate to streaming in a lot of cases. Right. It's in a lot of cheap traffic, hitting a bunch of websites with little pre-roll type ads, maybe some display ads, things like that, which, for a lot of years, dealers sort of lived with and understood. But I think that as we have evolved streaming advertising, I think the time is now, and that's kind of the theme we're going with this week, is the time is now to kind of take a second look at it and see, is there other ways that we can use some of the new resources that we have available to us with some of the publishers like Paramount Plus and Amazon Prime, Peacock, things like that. We've got some really cool ways that we can, help dealers get their ads onto some of the high value shows. And that's not something that normal OTT companies have ever thought about or have done. And, it just gets blended a lot with the word streaming TV. It gets blended a lot with OTT, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I think, the programmatic world and the way streaming advertising works is incredibly complex. And it really hasn't, like, the strategies around it haven't mattered in the past because the eyeballs weren't there. But now the consumer's there, like, big time. Traditional linear TV's kind of a falling star. And so now is the time to, like, take a look at your strategy, take a look at your spend, ask questions about dilution of your ad spend, ask questions about who's actually seeing your ads, what's behind the impressions, all those things. Like, it's really a good time to take a look at that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and honestly, we're all streaming, so.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think June was the first time ever that television consumption from streaming surpassed cable and broadcast combined.
Well, and it
just keeps going. Every month, it's a couple more percentage points. And
I think a lot of that has to do with. And I know this is something you're very familiar with, but as the NFL starts transitioning to streaming networks instead of cable broadcasts, like the Thursday night prime video games and the games that are just on Netflix, like those are things that it shows that we're there.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes when we're talking to dealers, they're trying to kind of understand exactly what we're talking about. I actually reference that. I say, you guys ever try to watch a football game during the holidays last year or this last, past holiday? And they're all like, oh yeah, I couldn't get this game because I didn't have a Peacock account and I didn't have a Netflix. And, now UFC, for example, just got rid of their pay-per-view and put a partnership together with Paramount Plus. And I think, with advertising, sports has always been a great way to get your message in front of people. Everybody loves sports. It's a high volume viewership, that type of thing. So, sports, if you can get on sports, that you're definitely going to have an opportunity to reach consumers.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I couldn't agree more. From your experience, what separates dealerships that see real results from streaming advertising versus those that walk away disappointed?
Want to take that one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look.
Thanks to Authenticom for supporting the I'm a Car Chick podcast. Authenticom. Control your data.
I think there's like an intangible metric here too. Like, we can look at the data all day and the data is reinforcing, but I mean, honestly, there's a feel here as well. Like, as a dealer, like, when was the last time you actually saw one of your own ads, or your family or friends, anybody that you know, because when they do, they typically tell you. Yeah. Like, hey man, I saw your ad the other day on whatever, college football playoffs or whatever. When was the last time that actually happened on a streaming network?
Right.
And I think that's a feel message that really, when that starts happening, that if you're seeing relevant people in your circles and probably very relevant car shoppers.
Mm-hmm. Well, and honestly, at this point, I would just be happy to see any ad that isn't for some type of medication.
Pharmaceuticals, right?
What do they call it? Plaque psoriasis or
Valtraxaville.
My goodness, that's all I get, and I'm like, I don't even have plaque psoriasis. Why am I getting this?
It's like 10 seconds of ad and 20 seconds of side effects.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh my God, seriously.
It's for all the hypochondriacs out there.
Owen, you've worked deeply in fixed ops and service marketing. How differently should dealers approach messaging for service and acquisition compared to sales?
Well, I think it's always going to be a smaller pool.
Mm-hmm.
People that for vehicle acquisition, especially, like there's only a certain amount of the market that's actually looking to sell their car at any given time. I think service is a great way to use streaming advertising because people that buy cars, they also have to service cars. So there's that same audience in a lot of cases. And the thing that's different between obviously service, and I talked about this for years, is the volume, right? The repetition. You want people coming back for service, so you want to be able to get your message out there that, hey, why should they come to the dealership, that type of thing. We were doing that at Fixed Ops Digital through content, right? We were doing content creation, videos, things like that. What I like about streaming is now we can kind of bring all of those why service messages that we always promoted to life, right? Through video, through audio, through just the visual side that I think really, that's why, when you look at ads too, we are really big with in talking with dealers about the creative, right? We want localized footage. If you're talking service, show some footage of your bays and your customer lounge, maybe your
advisors.
Yeah, your advisors. Just all the things that really localize the entire experience that they're seeing on through the television.
Yeah, because they're going to see those corporate Toyota, Hyundai, Kia during whatever, but that doesn't tie anything locally. It's just the same thing everybody else in the country is seeing.
Exactly.
What's a common mistake that dealers make when trying to measure the success of streaming and video campaigns?
I think one of the biggest things is just the lack of transparency. That's something that I think we're really priding ourselves in with DealerStream, is that we have hands down the most transparent reporting platform of what we've seen, and we've seen upwards to 40 different companies that are offering some sort of OTT service and that type of thing. What ends up happening a lot of times is because a lot of times providers don't focus so much on the strategy and kind of how we're actually delivering the advertisement. The reporting kind of reflects that. It's very high level. It's just showing some numbers and kind of like, kind of a surfacey report that says, hey, we did a really good job for you. Now let's just move on. Yeah. We actually want to get into the trenches with them. We want to show, what publishers are producing better, what zip codes are producing better. There's other data that we bring in our reporting platform that we haven't seen anybody. And I think that's refreshing for dealers because they really look at that and say, hey, that's something that I want to know more of, and I could never get that information from my current OTT provider or a lot of times other digital marketing providers as well.
Transparency is super hard, it seems like nowadays. This one is, specific for Owen. You also sit on the advisory board for Bowtie Solutions. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for better alignment between marketing efforts and BDC or customer outreach?
Well, I think there's obviously, as you look around this convention center today, a lot of AI talk. I think AI has its place. Yeah. But what I like about what Bowtie does, obviously they focus, all on service, but they use real agents, right? Yeah. Now they're using some AI and they're using some technology to help with efficiencies. Right. But they're not going in on the whole, hey, we just need to, automate and eliminate the individual, right? And I think that's something that that's done really well for them as they've grown. They've grown tremendously over the last year since we've kind of came on as a part of their board. And Matt does a great job. Matt Raymond
he's just the best.
Yeah, he does a great job, and he's like us. He just wants to do good work for good dealers, and you kind of grow slower, but you find the right partners that you can sort of work with, and it's not a transactional sale at that point. It's a relationship thing, and these are people that we're friends with and become good friends for life. Yeah. During the time they're working with us, and even if for some reason the business relationship ends, Yeah. So
I wouldn't want to meet the person that finds Matt Raymond as an enemy. Like, he's the nicest guy.
Yeah, he's
the best.
And he's doing it right. He's not just leaning in on AI and just plugging it in and saying, hey, because there's a lot of challenges with that, especially when you are trying to help dealerships book service appointments and things like that.
Right. So. Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to dealers experimenting with modern advertising channels, what would you want them to understand before spending their next dollar? And I know you're big on education.
I would say just be open to change. It's not always what we did yesterday. I had a dealer talk to me yesterday, and he was just basically like, I just don't know, if this is something that I want to, tackle right now. I want to maybe, there's some dealers that just like to kind of wait until everybody else is doing it, and then once it becomes mainstream, they do it. I think the progressive ones, the ones that, sort of hand raise now and say, hey, I'm interested in, doing something different, they're going to see the value in what we're doing with streaming a lot quicker than that dealer that says, hey, I'll wait until it's a mainstream strategy. By that time, you don't have the chance now to pick up the market share because everybody, there's already so many people, so many dealers or advertisers that have already done it and have kind of created that consistency within the
groundwork.
What we do. Yeah. So.
Well, fellas, what is the if someone's interested in DealerStream or connecting with you guys to learn more, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, dealerstream.com has a lot of great information about us, what we're doing. If you're in the expo hall, we're at the North Hall, 6312N. We're showing dealers what we're doing. You can find me and Joe all over social media. The nice thing about Joe is that obviously he was big on education his whole career as well. So you'll see a lot more of us out and about this year at different conferences, just trying to talk about streaming advertising and kind of where it's going and what we're doing to help evolve it. So
yeah, I love it. You guys are a great part of the industry. You're great people doing the right thing and just truly out there to help people. So we need more of that in this industry.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
So
thanks, guys, both of you
Thanks,
for coming on today. Joe, it was great to get to talk to you for the first time.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, be sure to check out Dealer Stream. I know I've said it time and time before, but anything Owen's involved in, I promise you want to be a part of. So go check them out, dealerstream.com, and we'll catch you next time on the I'm a Car Chick podcast.